For about the past 6 months, I've been completely obsessed with fish aquariums, fish, plants, shrimp, and wood. This particular aquarium here is my first real fish aquarium. It's 75 gallons. And as far as how much money I have in it, this aquarium is the Aquarium, the box store brand, nothing fancy, but usually they cost about somewhere close to $300 for just the bare bone aquarium itself. Petco here in Conway, Arkansas, they run a deal every few months, half price. So after taxes, I paid $140 for just the aquarium itself. The stand, I know you can't see it, but with the stand, I have a black piece of material that goes across the bottom. But the stand is something that I made just out of 2x4s, and I stained it with some stain I already had. So in the stand, I only have $25 or so because I bought the studs 2x4s, which are the cheapest 2x4s you can buy. I built it myself. I stained it myself. It looks okay, but I put the piece of material down there, black material, just so you couldn't see all the stuff that's under it that makes it look junky. Now, if you yourself were to buy a stand, and if the aquarium was $300, you would probably pay about that much, or at least half that, for a stand if you get a nice cabinet stand. Now, the metal stands are cheaper, so keep that in mind. If you can't build a 2x4 stand, then you might spend $150 to $200 on a stand. So that's going to put you up quite a bit more than what I paid. The filter is the Sun. Sun makes, or one company has lots of different names or labels, but it's the $100, 275 gallon per hour canister filter off of Amazon. And I have been using this one for a couple of months there now, and it's been nice. That's the output where you see the surface agitation right there, and then over here in this corner is where the input is. It sucks the water in. I do have a pre-filter over the top of the intake there, so no big particles, no duckweed, no leaves gets in there. It gets caught at the pre-filter, so that's going to cause me to not have to clean the big canister filter underneath out as much. So I've got 140 in the tank, 25 in the stand, $100 in the filter. And with all the plants here, the main plants that I bought that's pearlweed. It's easy to grow. And this is hair grass. And there's some you see some grass sticking up there. That, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a miniature version of jungle val. That's wrapped around there. That's called hornwort. That's something I already had, and it grows fast, so I just took some and put in there. And all this right here that's covered the back, that is called anacarus, and it's a stem plant. It comes in bunches for like $3 and something a bunch at Petco. So I planted those, and it just exploded. I didn't pay anything for them though. Over here in this corner, you can barely see it right there where my finger's pointing. That's called mermaid weed. I bought that, and it hasn't done very good, but as you can see, it's not getting any light. Over there, that is called water lettuce. that's hanging down, and I also have lots of water lettuce over here in this back corner as well. So as far as plants go, I would say without what I propagated from my own, I've got at least $60. And over in the back corner back there, you can see some. Those are new. I paid maybe $12 for a bunch. I don't remember what they're called, but they have a pink tint to them, a pinkish purple tint to them. So I could have, if I would have bought all this, I could easily have another $100 into the plants, but I've got 60 listed here. The light on top is a shop light from Harbor Freight. It was on sale for $16. It's a LED shop light. It's worked fine. The sand that you see in the top of the waves there, that was a sack of Quikrete pool filter sand, and that was about $16. They went up to $20 now. I bought a couple of sacks the other day, and I might have put more than one sack in here because I made that big hill over there. But I've got $16 for sand. The potting soil is a potting soil, organic potting soil that I bought, and I put down $10 for a bag of it. Now, as far as the shrimp go, I don't have an exact number for you on how much I paid for the shrimp, or not the shrimp, but the fish. But I have about 40 fish in here. Now, as far as fish go, they've done great. None of them have died that I bought that I know. I mean, they could die and get caught up in there, and I'd never know it. But these are zebra danios that you see. Let me zoom in. That's a black skirt tetra. Those are really nice. And then a neon tetra. And then you don't see them as much, but right up there in the top, that's a zebra danio. Those are all great fish, and that's what I have in there. That's Chinese algae eaters. I think I bought maybe 6 of those. I'm not sure because I had a huge algae problem starting off. And I have 3 coolie loaches in there. They're very, very small loaches. As far as the fish go, and now I'll move on to the magnet. I don't have it in here, but it's over. Let me see if I can get it over there. No. Anyway, I've got a magnet that you can take and you clip on the side. It goes on the side, and it's a cleaner, and you clean the front glass with it, and it was $8. So as far as all that goes, I have $471, and that's not being generous, okay? So that's at $2.50 a piece for the fish, and some of the fish did cost up to $3. I did get most of them on sale at PetSmart, but some of them cost up to $3. So you're looking at, with what I have right here, $500. Now, I didn't spend that all at once. This was a period of over about 3 months because I found the tank on sale, and I said, I got to get it right now. So I got it, and it was later that I built the stand, and then from there I put the soil in it. The wood, something I didn't mention is the wood, and I got it from the Arkansas River. I found it myself. If you was to buy that wood, you would probably pay about $50. There's rocks in there. There's one right there. There's actually 4 rocks in there that's holding all this up. There's one right there, and there's some in the back. The rocks were free. I got them off the side of the road. They're just the gray rocks. So if you were buying them, rocks, believe it or not, are expensive. There is a heater in there. I don't use it, but there is a heater, and I didn't buy it. It was given to me or something, so you'd probably have to add another $25. So if you add all those things up, you're looking at closer to $600. And one thing that I want to mention is you better be careful before you buy all this stuff and spend $600-700. And I bought everything on the cheap, so even at $600, that's cheap. But you got to remember that you're looking at something that could last for 20 years. This thing could just live for 20 years. But before you buy it, you need to realize this. Before you put all that time and work and effort, and I put a lot of sweat into it, building and putting together. A lot of this has been done by me. But if you ever decide to get out of the hobby, or if you have to move, or you're changing locations and you can't take the tank, I want you to realize that if you pay if you've got $600 in a tank, in a stand, you probably won't get, but maybe you'll have people that will probably want to give you less than half. So less than $300. I would say that if I was selling this, that I might be able to get 250 out of it. I really don't know. I don't plan on selling it, but you need to keep that in mind. And I know when we buy stuff and we get into stuff, it's always like, I'm going to keep it forever, but it don't always work that way. So that's something you need to keep in mind, that if you do all this work, that it's possible that you may not get near what you've got in it back. Okay, I've got a coolie loach down here in the corner. See it? Right down at the very bottom. They don't come out too much. But I love this hobby, and I've just gotten really into it. And the thing about it too is, if you get into it and lose interest, that I can let this thing sit out here and run and hopefully have to do 0 to no maintenance on it. But remember that you won't get near as much out of it. And in fact, over here, I don't know if I can show it to you or not, but over here, see that tank? Paid $100 for that 55-gallon tank. It has lids on it. The lids are probably $25 a piece, and it was full of fish. And it has a canister filter that cost probably over $100. The fish in it, they're blood parrot cichlids. It's got other expensive fish in it, so it's probably got a couple of $100 worth of fish in it. And I got the whole setup for $100 because a guy lost his job and he was moving the next day and just trying to get rid of it. So that's an example of you not getting what you pay. Another tip that I have is I have several 10-gallon tanks, a 20-gallon tank, and I just was not happy with them because I was not able to do what I wanted to do with them. But here you see that I've got a 75-gallon tank, and I know that this is about the biggest that you can buy in a box store, and I'm happy and I'm pleased with it. So if you think that you're going to enjoy the hobby and you like the hobby and you have room for it, just go ahead and buy as big as you can. Now, you may not have the money to buy everything, but buy it as big as you can, and you won't regret it later, because all you got is empty space. And also, this is important too, the bigger tanks are actually easier to take care of because you got more water and you don't have as many problems with a big tank. So remember that's extremely important. Is if you can, just go ahead and go as big as possible. Now, I would recommend going ahead and getting a new tank. I've got a tank over there in the floor that it's an old tank, and there was some indications that it might leak, and I'm having to do a lot of work on it, just resealing the sides and things like that. So go big tank, but I would recommend do like I've done and do small fish. Do small fish because I've got like 40 fish in there. I can enjoy it, but and the plants are growing, so they take up a lot of swimming room. But I would start out with small nano, what they call nano fish. The ones that I've got are great choices. Just be careful when I buy a fish. I put it in here and I plan to leave it in here for the entire life of its fish. Because if I went in there and I've got 12 or 14 zebra danios in there, and they are, I can only see maybe 6 at a time. There's no way that I could catch those fish to get them out of there if I wanted to get rid of them. So when I put a fish in the tank, I put it in there within my mind saying I'm going to leave it in there the entirety of its life. Now, with a heavily planted tank, I bought 2 beautiful albino loaches. They were long, snaky looking things, but those things were destroying my topsoil. As you can see, I have a father fish aquarium, and they would sink so far down into the sand that they would hit that soil, that potting soil, and it would come up out of the ground. You can see it right up here at the front on the ground, and it would make the water turn brown, and it would make a huge mess. And that's the place that they would always go to, time and time again. And there were 2 of them, but thank God that I was able to get those things out of there because they were destroying my tank. But when you get your fish, I would recommend at first go small, and then make sure when you put them in there you're planning on keeping that fish for the rest of its life. Number 3 is go planted. You want to put plants in the tank. This tank here, I'm not sure how old it is. It's probably a couple of months old, but I changed the water in it maybe 3 times initially because the water turned brown because of the wood in it. But when you have planted tanks, those plants that are in there absorbs the waste from the fish. Therefore, water changes are not required as often. So you want to get as many plants as you can in the tank. If you're just starting off, some easy plants is that an Aquarius that you got. You stick it in the ground, but it don't really do roots in the ground. It has roots coming all over it, and it grows really fast. Now, one of the reasons why it has grown that fast is because I fertilized it. I have this Seachem fertilizer, Flourish, and I put about 1 cap in every single week, and that's one reason why these plants have done as well as they have, is because of the fertilizer. But I want to encourage you as much as you can, just try to find the easiest plants to start off with, especially if you don't have CO2. Some plants actually require CO2, but put those in there. And one thing that I mentioned earlier about the pricing and talking about the fish is I actually put probably 25 Neo Caridina shrimp in this tank to help eat with the algae. And those shrimp are ones that I'd had for a long time, and they had reproduced, and I didn't pay anything for them. But Neo Caridina shrimp can be very, very expensive. So I could have easily had $50 tied up into those shrimp that I didn't add onto the cost of the tank. So there's some more money, getting closer to probably $700 possibly with that. So, but I would, and here's a philosophy with the fish. Uh, I'll go ahead and skip ahead. Let me go. Let me go ahead and go to my mistake that I made. One of the mistakes that I made with the fish tank is, you see right here, the bottom, the substrate, I don't know, that's probably 5 inches, because there's a black ring around the bottom, and that's probably 5 inches, and there's no way that I should have ever went that deep with it. But I was trying, when I started out, there was actually waves in the sand, and I was trying to mimic a beach or a riverbank, and the waves had made waves in the sand. But however it happened, I don't know. They all got filled up and it's level now. So basically, all that sand that's in the middle was piled up right there. And however it happened, I don't know, but it ended up being flat. Now, the proper way to do it is the way that I have this. You see, I've got like nothing at the bottom. There's nothing at the bottom of this, and it goes all the way up, but the bottom's nothing. And the way that it was described to me is this is art. And whenever I filled up down here, that's how much of my canvas that's gone. So that's something that you need to do, is start from zero and go all the way up. And this tank was just beautiful, the way it's got depth to it. You can see the fish, they swim around right here, and it's just really cool. So that's one of the mistakes that I could think of that I made, is the substrate, at least at the front, is way too high. Now, this is hornwort. It grows fast and it doesn't go on the ground. It's just sort of wrapped around the wood and it just continues to grow. That's a water lettuce up there. The water lettuce grows fast. You got to be careful though, because it will fill up the tank and block the light from your other plants. Pearlweed, that would be a good one to get to start off with. And jungle val, and this is some type of miniature jungle val. I don't know what it's called, but those have propagated or spread really good and they're easy to grow. So that's as far as the plants go. Now, here's the philosophy that I have, and I think that you should probably have with your fish aquarium. Out of those 25 Neocaridina shrimp that I put in here, those black skirt tetras have eaten a lot of them. I've caught them eating the shrimp that they can't even hardly fit them in their mouth. They grab them and they leave them hanging out of their mouth, and it takes them like probably 5 minutes to eat one of them because it won't even fit in their mouth. But they have. So every time that I seen one, even though I didn't pay it for it, I was like, man, they sell those things for $5 in the pet store, so there goes $5. But hopefully with all of these fish, I've had these zebra danios, they've had babies, but I don't see any new fish in here. But hopefully with all of that anacharis, that jungle back there, that when these fish do lay eggs and when these fish do have babies and when shrimp are born, hopefully they can live back there in the back and all that, and hopefully some of them will be old enough to be able to live in the tank. So therefore, I have 10 to 14 of each type of fish. So therefore, I probably so if those fish have babies, hopefully when the older ones die out, there will be one to take its place, at least one to take its place, so that I can continuously have 10 to 15 of each type of fish in this aquarium. Does that make sense? That's what my philosophy is. I've heard it from someone else. I've not been in it long enough to see if it works, but that's what I'm trying to do. And the same thing with the shrimp. The shrimp may be a little bit harder because they're smaller and they grow slower, but that's what my philosophy is with this fish tank. So one of the important things that I've learned from a guy named Father Fish is don't overfeed your fish. I've got a beta fish that I brought from work because the bowl that it was living in was just overrun with algae and it wasn't doing good at work. So I brought it home and I put it in a clean pitcher of water. And my wife said, "Can I feed it?" She asked if she could feed it. I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And she reached down in the feed and she fed that one betta fish as much as I would feed 10 to 15 fish. And it wasn't even hungry. And that's one of the things that messes up fish tanks is overfeeding. So these fish here, I feed them a little bit, just enough for hopefully every one of them to get a small bite. They are greedy, and there are some that are stingy and they eat more. But I feed them a little bit only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And some people feed less than that. And in the future, I may feed less than that. I'm gonna probably try to cut it down to twice a week. But that's what I feed them right now. So don't overfeed your fish. They more than likely will not starve. They will not die. I've got these here are in this new tank of mine that I just set up, and they're white cloud minnows, and I haven't fed them in a whole week, and they still have poop coming out all the time. That's why I don't like these minnows, because they're out of 25 at any given time, 2 or 3 of them have poop hanging out, and it's disgusting. But I haven't fed them, and they're happy. They're doing good. 2 of them have died, but that's because they're just the type of fish that they are. Some of them are unhealthy. So that's one thing that you need to know is don't overfeed them. And the one thing that I don't have, that I did not add onto the cost, that are very expensive, is lids. It's great to have lids on your aquariums, because it keeps your fish from jumping out, one, and two, it also helps with water evaporation. So if you could get lids right now, I'm a cheapskate. I've got a wife and 5 kids. I don't have a lot of money to spend on this hobby. That's why I do it a little bit at a time. But I'm looking into getting sheets of glass to go over the top of. What I'm actually doing is looking for old windows, and I have a glass cutter, and I'm going to cut the glass to go over the top of the tank, and maybe leave a gap to where I can slide it back and forth, or make 2 pieces and only take one off, something like that. But lids is something that I would encourage you to think about. Light is important, and even though I have a cheap light, it's worked. So hopefully, with this being said, I have been able to add some knowledge. And Father Fish made a recent video, and when I first started, I wanted a big sunken ship in my aquarium. That's what I thought would be so cool, was a big sunken ship. But now, 6 months down the road, there's no way that I would ever put a sunken ship inside one of my tanks. It's just not something that I want. So, with that being said, to leave you, one of the things that you need to do is look at other tanks, look at other styles, see what you want, and think about it really hard before you make that commitment to build it. Because with me, I've built this tank, I'm building this tank, and I'm building another tank over there in the floor, which is called a blackwater tank. And I'm building these to sit here in this condition like this for 20 years, and all I plan to do is trim the plants. I don't plan on changing water. I don't plan on cleaning anything. It's got that right there is hair algae, and I've just let it grow, but I'm thinking about pulling it out. But the fish tank, the reason what kept me from getting a fish tank for many years is because I've seen people in videos of people taking the gravel out, taking all of their stuff out of their fish tank, taking their fish out, and cleaning everything every single week. And I don't want to do that. I've got enough work to do. I've got enough jobs to do. I work 40 hours a week, and I've got 10 acres and horses and dogs. I don't want another job. But with this, after having it several months, I can see that it's something that I can come in here in the morning, sit back, watch, and just enjoy. I do have snails in here. My mystery snails, that they, for whatever reason, I don't have good luck with mystery snails, but I've got ram horn snails in here. You can see one right there. I've got regular looking ones, and they blend in. But you want to get snails, you want to get shrimp if you can, and algae eaters. I've got an excessive amount. I think I've got 4 or 6 in here, and those things get big. But I'm serious. When I started off, I had a huge algae problem, and they helped with that. So I hope that I've said something to help you here in the past 30 minutes. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer. I usually don't have a lot of time to answer. And here's my feet up, and this is my Iwagumi Aquascape with dwarf hair grass. I'm actually working on that now, and over there in the floor, you probably can't see it, but I've got the other tank that I resealed, and I'm putting driftwood in it. So if you're interested in that, just subscribe, and I'll be doing updates on that. On the Iwagumi with the dwarf hair grass, I'm getting some CO2 next week, some do-it-yourself CO2 kit. So that's all I can think of right now. I hope I've said something to help you. God bless.